Is this on? Good morning, church. Thank Mick for that, because I normally come up here and I say just good morning, church. Y'all look great. He was making fun of me for that, so I wanted to change it up a little bit this morning.
How about now? Can you hear me now? There we go. All right. So, this is going to be exciting. Most of you guys know public speaking is not my most favorite thing to do in the world, so my hands try not to do that. As most of you know, Zach and I was able to go down to Honduras for the Magi trip. This was the trip that Ernie and Harriet they were going to go on. Then with all the health issues that they were kind of going through, they reached out and said, "Hey, would you be interested in anytime I'm going to have a chance to travel?" I'm going to say absolutely, and then figure it out later. When Zach heard I was going, he said, "Hey, would you like some company?" I'm like, "Sure," because I was going down knowing maybe one person out of the whole group. So having someone to go down with me definitely made the trip a little more easy on my nerves, and it was really fun to get to know Zach a little more, find out that I feel like we're brothers. We have a lot of the same tendencies, and we're kind of...
Very much so.
Yeah, our humor's pretty online too, so we had a good trip. This first picture, this was one of my random pictures that I had in my phone. I didn't take very many pictures. I didn't do my job with taking pictures. They said, take a ton of pictures. And I think in my whole realm, I had maybe 7 or 8 pictures. And this just happened to be one of them. So this is on top of where we were in Honduras. We basically started at the bottom of the mountain every morning and then went up to the top of the mountain every day. And this is your view. When you get to the top of the mountain, when you look out, this is what you see pretty much at any mountain point while we were there. So this was one where we actually stopped on the side of the road, took the picture, and when I was taking this, my mind, it just goes to thinking, man, God is so awesome that he just spoke this into creation. And now I get to see with my own eyes the beauty that he has created for us to be able to enjoy. So that's just a little fun tidbit of this picture. We can go ahead.
Well, before I switch this, I did do some research on, so the mountain that you see there with what looks like smoke coming out of it, it is a volcano. So we're like right by the border of Honduras and Nicaragua. So when you look over to this valley, that's actually in Nicaragua right now. So I did some research on it, and the name of the volcano is San Cristobal. The volcano last erupted August 18th of 2017. So it was still very much active. And like Aaron said, there's different pictures of the valley. We got to see it several days throughout the week. And as the sun was at different levels, it's pretty much always kind of foggy in the valley right there. But it was really neat to take different pictures and see the different lights, to see the mountains and the landscape at different times of the day. So it was definitely one of our favorite pictures. So this first picture was right when we got into Honduras. We arrived into Tegucigalpa Airport, very small airport. It used to be a military base at the time. Now it's a full-time civilian airport. We loaded up the trucks just like you see there. These are actually the 4x4s. They all have lift kits on them, and they have what are called steel skid plates. Those will come in handy here later as we get through the presentation. But we loaded up all of our bags. I think there was, 19 of us total? 19 or 20 of us total. We loaded up on a charter bus, and then we took a 4-hour trip out to Mission Lazarus from the airport. So one of my notes that I made about this, I just want to make sure that we get this part. So driving over in Honduras is really different. We had a tour bus, and that's pretty much what it was. Well, you really, when you're in a tour bus, you don't really pass a lot of cars. These streets are really skinny, kind of like what you would see in Europe. There's no like shoulders on the road or anything, but apparently in Honduras, it's acceptable to pass people in a tour bus, even when you have a blind curve coming up. So I made in my notes that Aaron probably had at least 2 or 3 significant emotional events, because he was riding in the front, I was riding in the back. So definitely interesting first couple of hours there. This one, this is the very first picture. This is the first morning for me and Aaron when we got here. We slept in, they were cabins that I believe some of the members here at church built, so they were really nice, single bunk style beds. We got up in the morning, we had some breakfast that consisted of like eggs, pancakes, a little bit of bacon. And then we went to the warehouse, which is about a 5-minute walk. Everything is on the compound. So this compound spreads over several thousand acres. It was really amazing to see. But these were actually a good bit of the boxes that we passed out. So we would load up the trucks in the morning. We would go out to distribute, and then they had a full-time staff that would come in behind us and rearrange the boxes to get ready for the next deliveries, the next day's delivery. So I was really impressed. I'm in transportation, and they ran this just like a military organization. They were spot on. They had everything ready. These guys came in at the crack of dawn, sorted out all the boxes. The only thing that we had to do was literally get up, eat, and load the boxes onto the truck, and we were off going out to do some great things in the community. You want to add something to this one?
Yeah, I'll say Russian roulette. When you're getting into a truck, you had no, especially the first couple days, you're trying to figure out like, are these drivers crazy drivers? Are they good drivers? I will have to say the drivers were awesome. I never felt scared with these guys. They knew what they were doing, even when you're like basically on 2 wheels because you're trying to straddle some rocks and then one slides and the whole car just kind of shifts and you're like, yep, here we go. Jesus, take the wheel, because this is the only way we're making it. But the drivers were great. It was definitely fun. You'll see a couple of the roads that we have. And then as you see, you'd stop at the gas station, which was, they always had there was usually a couple that we would stop at. They had some very interesting pictures painted on the ceiling of where the gas pumps were. So I'll let your minds just kind of imagine what those were. But yeah, it was good. It was good.
Okay. There we go. So this is basically what the morning looked like. They had all the pallets prepared. We would start loading up the trucks. They had the trucks separated. Typically, it was two or three trucks one way, 2 or 3 trucks another way. We would load up the first 3 villages. They back in the other trucks. We would load up them, and then they would assign us our different groups. And then from there, it was, hey, this is going to be your leader for the day. This is going to be your leader, and we pretty much dispersed. So you'll be able to see in some of these pictures, me and Aaron were probably the youngest of the group, with the exception of one of their like photographers and editors. Her daughter came. She's still in high school, so I think she was like 18. But other than that, me and Aaron were probably the youngest, followed by maybe Sean. I think Sean's 47 or 48. But it was definitely impressive to see people from different walks of life, different churches, and everybody coming there, to do God's work and just help out the best way they could. So it was definitely an interesting morning, and as you're going to see here soon, our days are really interesting going down these roads. This is more of us. So Don and Peggy, something I want to tell you about Don and Peggy. Don is he's on the right side there with the blue shirt. So they're retired. He's a retired minister, and he still runs marathons. Very much an active guy. But when you think of an old married couple that have been married for like 60 years. That's these 2 people right here. Now, they love each other to death. Obviously, they've been married for a long time, but it's funny to hear them bicker back and forth. because they both get ideas. He wants to do it his way, she wants to do it her way, and after some bickering and stuff like that, Dawn normally does it her way. So, but it was definitely interesting every morning to see what kind of little argument they were going to get into there. So this is one of the first roads, and I'll tell you right now, it doesn't do it justice, but these were actually some of the better roads that we traveled on the first day that we got there. And as you can see, what Sean's doing right there, he's back on top of the truck because a couple of the boxes got loose and they fell off on the road. You can see right here, the roads are basically just dirt, and they're uneven because as the rain comes down the mountains, it makes deep grooves and rivets in the road, and then that exposes sharp rocks, boulders. And when I say boulders, I'm larger than basketballs. Some of these rocks that we were driving over were quite large. But that is one of the better roads that we traveled on. This was a daily occurrence. We felt the need to put this in the slide because something I want to tell you guys about. So being up on the mountain, a lot of it, they're self-sustaining. Okay, so every person in the village has like their little specialty. This guy he has cattle. So for example, it wasn't too much to see cattle coming from a watering source or going from a different field to eat grass, because obviously you don't want to keep them in one field. So they rotate them around. But in each little village, somebody will grow rice, somebody will grow corn, somebody will grow cattle, or have cattle, and they'll walk to each part of the village and get milk, get corn, get rice, get beans, and they kind of like trade their crops and stuff around, and that's how they live. So their average meal every day, 3 times a day, is going to be something to that effect: corn, beans, rice, water, milk, maybe some tortillas. About once or twice a month they'll slaughter a chicken, but that's an expensive part of a meal for them. So they might eat chicken once or twice a month. Other than that, it's rice, beans, tortillas and stuff 3 times a day, if they can afford that. So that's pretty much their meals.
One of the things that I wasn't prepared for was the amount of appreciation we were shown by the kids, and then like the adults that were kind of overseeing the children. This was one of the first banners that I had saw, and then it was like every other one, the kids had made the banners and stuff to show their appreciation for us. And a couple of the other pictures you'll see, all the kids like holding their boxes up. So after every child had got their box there on site, what they would do is they'd all come together, and then they would yell gracias and get their picture taken, and then it was off to kind of back off to their houses. I think it's in the next couple of slides. So when we think of going, like when we come here to the building, we're all coming to one spot. We've got cars that we just hop in and come to. For these kids and for these families, they're walking through these. I mean, we would be at the building and you would just see whole families come through the woods or hopping fences, and I mean, they literally came out of everywhere. And one of the things that I found, I would say somewhat hard for me, and I know it was hard on the driver, because the drivers are kind of the evangelists that go out, that work for Mission Lazarus, that are really plugged into these communities. That, of course, with every organization, you got to have rules, and I'm not always a rule follower. Some rules I think need to be broken. So we got through the list, and there was a woman who was like really upset because her child wasn't going to get a gift. And when we think about this, we think, God, it's just a gift. But this is a gift that this will be the only thing that this child receives for the entire year. That's it. Because the parent has to make the decision, are we going to feed our child, or are we going to give them something? And so food trumps every time. So when this mother was up and she's wanting this box for her child. I'm like, well, we got extras. Wait, how old's your kid? I'll just go grab you one. And then I found out that there were rules and weren't supposed to do that. And they're like, oh, you need to leave it up to like the ministers if they want to go above the rules or not. And so they would always then look at me when I was in the group because they knew I'd say, yeah, she's giving them a box. So it was a hard thing because there were some people that, are rule followers and the rules are the rules. And I'm like, I feel like Christ would say, nah, go ahead, here you go. Go have that box.
Most of the time they did get a box.
Most of the time we did. So that was just one kind of shocking experience for me, was to think that we were going to have to make some decisions. And I mean, I guess in my mind, I've packed a ton of these boxes. I'm just like, all right, it's got some stuff in it. That's cool. And didn't really think of it. And then when they were sharing with us what that box actually entails to them, it was definitely a huge change. So.
Yep. So this is just this is a picture pretty much like what the villages look like. We would either be in the local village's church, or maybe what they used for a schoolhouse. So people, a couple of the people asked me, like, what did their houses look like? And I took over 200 pictures, but some of these people walk for an hour and a half to get here. So when you imagine a mountainous region, this area is really cleared out because this is where the village meets. So they'll go to school here, they'll go to church here. So that's where we were meeting. But I can tell you that I wouldn't describe them as houses. They were more like huts. So think of clay walls, mud. Some of them had bottles that you could pack in there with the mud for to let some light in. Sheet metal roofs. Absolutely no plumbing. There was no plumbing in any of the villages that we went to. One of the things that Mission Lazarus is currently doing, along with the Magi Project, is they're going out to these villages to build latrines. So when they say latrine, it's basically like a what do you call that? The underground. When you live in the country and you don't have the plumbing. Yeah, but the septic tank. Thank you very much. So that's what it is. So they'll dig a 4 foot by 4 foot by 9 foot hole. They'll fill half of it with gravel. They'll have a tube going to it, and that kind of acts like as a mini septic tank. And I was shocked because a lot of the villages they haven't been able to get to yet. The weekend after we left, they had a plan for another group of volunteers to come in, and they had a plan to do 11 latrines in these different villages. Some of the villages that we came to that had already had a latrine, it was one latrine for 20 to 30 people to share. Okay, so it kind of puts it into a perspective. I mean, when I grew up, I had a house with a brother, and it was 3 bedrooms, and one of the things I hated the most was there was 1 bathroom in the house. You have to share a bathroom with brothers getting ready for school, or your mom or your dad's getting ready for work or whatever. These people had 1 latrine for 20 to 30 people. Okay, so when we talk about living with the bare necessities, it's shocking. It's really shocking, and I knew what I was going to see when I came down here, because I've been on some humanitarian missions with the military before, but it's been about 15 to 16 years since I've done work like that. But when you see this environment, it's amazing to see. They are happy. They're living their lives. But this is an opportunity, and there's countries all over the world like this that are opportunities to do God's work and just help them out and give them a little something better than what they previously had. So 1 latrine for 30 people is better than no latrine for 30 people. But these Magi boxes that we handed out, when they said it was going to be really hard to bring back and tell you guys and put into words, but when I say they grabbed a box and they held on to it like it was gold, that's pretty much what it was. I mean, these kids didn't let the box out of their sight. They couldn't wait to get the box. You'll see in a couple other pictures, they had another rule that we kind of sidestepped, or I wasn't going to stop them, but they weren't technically supposed to open up their boxes there I'm not sure why that is. We didn't get too much into the who, what, when, where, and why, but they wanted to give them their boxes and take them back to their houses. I don't know if maybe that was a present, or if they were going to do their little Christmas or something. But some of the kids we caught peeking in their boxes. Some of them just straight up opened them up. A $2 water gun from the water store or from the dollar store made that kid's day. I mean, absolutely made that kid's day. A ping pong paddle, some flip flops. We're not talking about real expensive stuff here, but when they get stuff from America, they couldn't believe that we were coming from America to give them some of our stuff from America, because that stuff is looked at like the gold standards, like our Macy's or our Calvin Klein's, whatever you want to put on there for a high class, novelty item or whatever. They were beyond grateful to get these boxes. So it was really neat to see. This is us handing out the boxes. So like I said, they had everything really set up. They had so many, they had the kids broken up into ages. So what we would do is when we got into the village, they would talk to the kids. We'd have the whoever our group leader is. In most of these groups, like Aaron said, these people are embedded into these communities. They go up there on a regular basis, and some of them preach into the community. So I was really impressed. Some of the leaders that we had, they were only 20-something years old. They were just kids, but they're already in the they're already in the community, and they're already doing God's work by ministering to these people on a regular basis. So it was really neat to see how Mission Lazarus had transformed some of these kids, and some of these kids that were our leaders had grown up with Mission Lazarus, which we'll be able to talk about here in a little bit. But we would play games with the kids, Simon Says, that type of stuff, and then that would give some of the volunteers time to set up the boxes, and then we would continue passing them out to the kids. Another banner. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're good. So Vicky, she's the lady in the white shirt. So her husband is Colombian, so she speaks very fluently in Spanish. So it was awesome to have her. I was with her probably the majority of the trips I was with her. So what you see on the board is actually the fruits of the Spirit. So she would do like a little play with the puppet, which I think in this one, Adam is, he was one of the Healing Hands guys, but he also speaks Spanish, so he would kind of do the play with her. But every time that we would go, like Zach said, they would do like fun stuff at the beginning while we were setting up, and then there was always some type of either song that we sang with the kids, or when Vicky was with the group, she was always delivering some type of like Bible message. And it was something that was a little bit fun. It had a little bit of a zing to it that really would get the kids' attention. And it was great because throughout the week, you would be traveling past the same village that you'd went either the day before, and you would have some of the small children on the side, and they would start screaming at you the fruits of the Spirit as you were driving by. So for me, it was just very endearing to be able to see that and the excitement that the kids got, and to be able to have the opportunity to give them basically a small devotional there as they're getting, or before we actually passed out the gifts.
There we go. So we have a couple pictures. These are random pictures that other people took of us because we're not doing selfies with the kids or anything. But we were, pretty much handing out boxes. I'll be honest with you, I tried not to take a lot of pictures when we were giving out the boxes. Mission Lazarus and Helping Hands, they take pictures for, Facebook and stuff like that. And I get that because you need to spread the word of what you're doing, what type of work, where people's money is going to, so that more people want to participate in the mission and everything. But I just felt kind of weird, giving a child a gift and then, trying to do a selfie, that type of thing. But we did, I do want to let you know, I'm talking to the mission and everything. We visited 32 villages and passed out almost 5,000 boxes. So every day we would hit 6 to 8 villages. Each group would hit 3 to 4 villages, so 6 to 8 villages. And we would pass out anywhere from 900 to 1,100 boxes a day. by the end of our mission, we had handed out almost 5,000 boxes to each children, or to 5,000 children. So it was really, really a great experience. And there's Aaron giving some love to some kids too. And they were really, like I said, it was awesome. I can't really put that into words, but these kids could barely wait for their name to be called. So, and another thing I want to say too, we've done a really good job with the Magi program. One thing that I brought back, and it's up to, Ernie and Harriet, but some of the churches actually stamped their boxes. They got like a stamp, or did some kind of an artwork on the boxes, because they can go online. You know, we can't go down there every year. It'd be great, but they're always taking pictures and they're putting them on Mission Lazarus website. So if we make a stamp or some kind of an artwork for our boxes, you know that that's your box that you touched, that you physically bought, or that you physically packed, and it's going into the hands of these kids. And some of the volunteers with us, their container had already arrived, so they handed out boxes with their artwork on them. One lady made dresses for the girls, so of course she opened up that box right away. But it was really cool to know that, hey, I'd touched that box, I'd packed that, and now I'm able to hand it out to the kids. So that was one of the takeaways. If we do it, great. I'm not saying it's necessary, but it was really cool, and I think that'd be really cool to look on their website and say, hey, there's a Southgate Church of Christ box, or whatever. So I thought that was a good takeaway. This is just another village with the kids. So afterwards, we would get them into a group afterwards, and we'd take pictures. Whoever, the minister of the village, or like the village leader, would have them stand there, and they would lift up their boxes and tell us thank you, all at the same time. So it was definitely very rewarding to get to the end once all the children had their boxes. And there's another picture of the villages, and you could see also these kids came out. This is their Sunday best. This is their Sunday best. So their parents had them washed up, cleaned up, dressed up. They couldn't wait for this day. So it was really good to see that. There's some more kids. Some other villages. So every village was just a little bit different. Some were larger than others, some were smaller. Some had a building that we could go to. Some, it might have just been an overhang. But we made do with what we had. Here's a picture of them breaking the rules. Like I said, we had no problem with that. I wasn't gonna, first of all, I wouldn't have been able to communicate that in one sentence in Spanish anyway, but if we seen them open their boxes, we'd come over there and try and peek in with them, and they'd shut it real quick, and we'd, no, it's okay, open it back up. So it was really cool to see the kids actually open it up and see how excited they were to get these gifts. It's a true blessing.
Yeah, one thing I'll mention on this, the girl that's holding the dress up, this was a special picture for me because one of the ladies, Vicky, we call her Sewing Vicky because we had two Vickies. So we had Puppet Vicky and Sewing Vicky. Sewing Vicky had made this dress, and so we knew when we went into, the village we were in was very small in this one, so they were encouraging the kids to go ahead and open up your box. Well, when this girl opened up the box, she first opened it and it was just like tears streaming down her face of excitement. So then you look over at Vicky, and Vicky's got tears of excitement, and it was such an awesome, this is where a picture doesn't do justice to the actual snap in time. And she had a couple of her other girlfriends, and so they were all holding up their dresses together and, doing what girls do when you get new clothes, I guess. So it was really cool to be able to experience that firsthand, and just to see that, the hard work that people put into sewing those and making those, and as we're packing those, they really are impacting lives.
Go ahead.
So we'll show this picture, and then we'll show the next picture. So this was not a road before we got there. So this is the furthest that they had gone this year when we went to this village. So we found out that the picture that'll be next, you'll see a group of guys, and then Nancy. Nancy's with Healing Hands. She did not help with the road. So just the guys did the road. But these guys got up at probably 4:30, 5 o'clock to walk to this area, and started working at 6, knowing that we were going to be there by 1 or 2 in the afternoon to make sure our vehicles could make it over the holes, over the water. And there was one part which I couldn't find any pictures of it, but you literally had to drive like down into the river and then go straight up. And it was like, well, let's just hope we don't roll over because we're going to be going in the water if we don't. But to know that it meant that much to those local men, they didn't get paid for it. They didn't get anything special for doing it. They knew the kids needed it, or we needed it to get over there. And so they made it happen. And to think, for me, when I think of a servant of Christ, is going out of your way so that the people in your village, and I mean, half the guys didn't even have kids in the village. So it's not like they were tied to it, but they made sure that we had access to be able to get over there. There's the guys.
Yeah. So this is the group of guys that Aaron was talking about. So I also I took some notes as much as I could every day, not every single day, but on this particular day, where's it at? So talking about the furthest village away, so we calculated only because we were able to keep track with our cell phone. We happened to get some decent signals that day. So we went to 3 villages that day, spent about an hour at each village. We had a 9-hour day, so that means it was 6 hours of driving. 6 hours of driving, we covered almost a marathon. So between 26 and 27 miles. So a marathon is 26.2 miles. We spent 6 hours of that driving. An average marathon runner could have ran that quicker than what we drove. Okay, so, and the reason for that is you spend most of your day driving about 5 miles an hour, and the vehicles, this is probably an understatement. You're grabbing the oh my goodness bar. There's a different word for that, but you're grabbing onto it just so your head isn't banging against the window, because your truck is literally like this for most of the 6 hours. So pretty rough, pretty uneven terrain and everything like that, but again, it was well worth it in the end to get out to these villages.
So this one is, I threw this in as, this is another area where Healing Hands is working with some engineers that are coming over. Well, actually, they were coming over 3 weeks after we left, and they're actually going to put a skywalk in so that during the raining season, where you see all those rocks, will be gone with water, and they can't make it from one side to the other without walking. I think Henry told me it was like almost 10 miles before there was an actual crossing to where they could meet. So they're going to come in, and then just where you can't see, I didn't put that picture in, but there's like a 25-foot pit that they just had like trees laying over top of, or when they come in and do the structural stuff. They don't have caution tape and telling people, hey, don't come near here. So they just put these big logs over them, but you could look straight down, and it's crazy to think of the things that we take for granted here in the U.S. and like to get all the supplies and stuff there. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of coordination.
Okay, so these are pictures on the other side of the compound. So along with Mission Lazarus does a lot of stuff down there, but one of the things that I was most impressed with is they have a Mission Lazarus Academy here on the compound. So in Honduras, most of the children, when I say most, probably 90% of the population goes to 6th grade. The reason for that is the way I understood it was the school is funded to 6th grade. After 6th grade, you have to pay for that. Okay, and then you're starting to pick whether food is more important or school. Most of the kids go to 6th grade. and then they go back and start working, either farming with their parents, or they find another job some way to bring income home to the family. So most of them have a 6th grade education. Mission Lazarus has an academy where they have, where's that at? 130 students in any given time. It goes through 1st grade all the way through 12th grade. So these kids are getting a 12th grade education, and then if they want to go to a tech school or a college afterwards, Mission Lazarus funds that for them. So it was pretty awesome to see that. Some of these are like their tech. They also have like regular classes, and they have tech schools. This is a leather making shop where they teach them to make shoes, leather wallets and stuff, things that they can sell, and so they have a skill when they get out of school. This is the outside of the school. Really neat. I mean, you're in classes and it's all glass walls on the backside, and you're looking over a valley and mountains and stuff. So it's better view than what I had in school. But it's a really neat school, really neat shops. They have some computer rooms. There's their computer lab. So without this academy here, these children just don't have, they wouldn't have any shot of getting this type of education. But the fact that if they want to go to a tech school or go on to college, Mission Lazarus will pay for that. It's definitely, it's boosting the quality of life, not only for these children, but for their economy, because for some of these kids, they're the first ones in their family to even make it past 6th grade, let alone go to a tech school or a college. So they're actually shaping what the future is going to be for Honduras. It may take some time, but they graduate enough of these students. This is going to change the whole outlook and the whole education system for Honduras in the next 10 to 15 years. So it's pretty neat to see. This is the group that we went with. These are the guys that we spent most of our time with. Me and Aaron spent most of our time split up, just so we could be some of the muscle and stuff like that, loading up trucks and unloading them and everything. But each one of these guys has a very interesting story. Some of them grew up through Mission Lazarus. These two are the young guys. The one on the left, one on the right. They're in their one was mid-20s, one was late 20s. They're both ministers. They both go out into the community and do ministry work. But everybody's got a story here. Everybody grew up in Mission Lazarus. Some have even been to America, and for whatever reason, they got either deported or came back. Some of them did not live a life of Christ before coming to Mission Lazarus. Case in point with the gentleman in the middle with the Magi shirt, he wasn't always a member and knew Christ. When he came to Mission Lazarus, he came back to Honduras for a second time. He wanted to be able to provide food for his family, but he also wanted to do ministry work. So he walked onto Mission Lazarus's compound one day and said, "Hey, what can I do? Can I get a job here?" And he was bilingual. That helped. And they asked him what he could do for them, and he said, "Well, I really want to be a minister, and I want to be able to make money for my family." So God provided him an opportunity to do both of those things. And this was a really great group of guys. They were very involved with the community. They also build the latrines, it was really great to be with them and meet them. That's you and Sean had one of the last ones, right?
Yeah, this is one of the last ones. So this, the gentleman in the cowboy hat, he is the local leader of the Catholic Church. And the reason why I put this picture is, one, is because this was one of the places I got to eat at their house, which was awesome, and have fresh coffee, which was awesome, even though it was really sweet, and it kind of threw me a loop because I like bitter coffee. But the main reason was something that what this gentleman said. So Sean, sitting there in the chair, he's the guy that does our Walk for Water here in Ohio. Sean was like, "Hey, I want to interview this guy. Like, we're here. Let's do this." So they were having a conversation, and the topic come up, the differences, because Healing Hands is a Church of Christ based organization, and then a lot of the places they either had Baptist, Catholic, all different religions, all different Denominations, thank you. Good grief. And this gentleman made a comment that just, it blew my mind. And it took me to Ephesians chapter 4. And I'm going to read 1 through 6. Therefore I, as a prisoner for serving the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling, for you have been called by God. Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace, for there is one body and one Spirit, just as you have been called to one glorious hope for the future. There is one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father, who is over all and in all and living through all. And that was basically his statement. He said, I don't care what your denomination is. If you love God and you're serving God, let's put those differences aside and let's serve God for who he is. And for me, I think that was part of the trip. This was one of the last days too, so I'm already on the emotional roller coaster. And as we were driving to the next village, I was glad I was riding up front because it just broke me. Thinking such a simple thing that we can put differences aside because God's bigger than all this. And that the helping of other people is more important than what we think is right or wrong. That God's love covers us. And so when he said that, for me, it was just one of those moments that I really had to just take a mental snapshot in my brain and think, I need to chew on this for a while. I really need to think about what this man just said. And then when I got home and started reading, took me right there to that verse. And so for me, this was kind of the thing that summed up the whole trip for me. Is, well, why do I do this? Why am I doing this? Because I love God, and I've got more than I need. So why not help those who need that? So, did you have anything?
No, I just a caveat real quick. This is our last slide, by the way, but I was told about this. Sean came back and shared that we had a huddle every night to talk about lessons learned and how we saw God moving and working through people. So it doesn't surprise me that Aaron put this up here because he actually got to witness it. I heard about it after the fact, but it really shocked me to know that we have an opportunity to do God's work, but there are some, and don't get me wrong, I'm the last person that's going to be judging people or telling you, hey, you shouldn't be doing this or that, but it really shocked me that there were Christians out there that have an opportunity to help somebody, but because they're from a different denomination, they wouldn't work with them. Which is the greater of the two, first of all, to help somebody and have an opportunity to help somebody, or to not stand with somebody that also loves God, maybe just in a different way, or maybe that's the only way they know how to love God. So what I'm telling you is, you never know how your opportunity to use God, to bring somebody closer to God. You never know when that opportunity is going to present itself to you. That might be sitting next to a Baptist. That might be sitting next to somebody from another denominational, and you missed that opportunity because you didn't want to help somebody because they were a different denomination. You never know when your opportunity is going to come. So that was a lesson learned for me. If they're from a different denomination, I'm going to choose to help. I'm going to choose to help and do God's work, no matter what denomination they are. And if I can throw a couple verses of the Bible out at them, maybe it'll change their mind. Everybody has a choice. So, food for thought.
And with that, we actually have one more trip coming up. Not for us, but for Morella. She's going to be going to La Sabella, Honduras. She's going to Honduras, people, next year. So she's going to be doing a fundraiser January 13th. which is a Saturday from 8 to 11 in here. During this trip, she's going to be, I took notes for a reason, working on a home. They're going to be offering childcare and also doing like a health clinic type deal thing. So her money is due early February, so this would be a great way for us to support her and to also just have some good fellowship with one another. Again, that's January 13th, 8 to 11 here for Morella. There's one of these little flyer things on the board that's got the more information on it, but it is here at Southgate, so I wanted to make sure I plugged that in while we were doing that. And I think with that, our part's done. And then we can go ahead and call the kids back from junior worship.